All right, everyone, and welcome to one more episode of Talking Points with Capstone. I'm Dr. Sujaya Banerjee, and it is an absolute privilege today to be able to anchor someone that I have admired for so many years. I think has inspired my career in very significant ways and has been, I would like to call him a mentor, a very significant mentor. To have guided many parts of what I've done through my life, and we have many sort of common touch points in terms of perspectives, views. I dare say very much influenced also by his conversations with him. But I have an absolute privilege today to be able to call out our speaker, who is going to be my co-speaker during the course of this conversation. So our talking points today has the privilege of being able to introduce someone that you're all very familiar with, which is Arun Wakhlu, Chief Mentor of Pragati Learning Institute. And I have to say, someone who I believe has played a very significant role in being able to carve and create very outstanding and very impactful leaders within the corporate world. He has a very accomplished background. He, comes in from IIT and IM, and sort of left a very flourishing career to be able to do what he thought was his calling. And I had the privilege of being able to watch him in action way back in the 90s as he was trying to basically shape not only the quality of leaders that corporate India could basically leverage, but also help them in turn create an ecosystem which was distinctive so that they could enable flourish for many other human beings who also came in to pursue their careers within the business world. So when we thought of talking about spirituality and leadership in the 21st century, and especially to a group of people who are part of the business world environment, I couldn't think of anyone better than Arun Wakhlu to be able to come in
Thank
and
you.
join us for this conversation today. So thank you, Arun, for being here.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, I have a bit of a introduction. I'll let you say hi to everyone, and then I'll get
Yeah,
started
yeah.
with why we came here.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. So thank you very much, Sujaya, for that very generous introduction. And it's an absolute pleasure to be with all of you this afternoon. And this is a subject dear to my heart, and I'm very happy that Sujaya has brought this to you. So thank you very much, and lovely to be here.
Lovely. Thank you, Arun. So, anchoring leadership in the spiritual, a 21st century imperative. Um, and, I think if we said this a couple of years ago, it would sound like a bit of mumbo jumbo to a lot of people saying, we're too practical about what it is that we come in every day to do. What has spirituality got to do with business? How do we even explain to anyone what this would really mean in the context of the world that we're living in? It's some esoteric stuff that someone's trying to sell and push down our throats because we don't quite agree with it. Or for a lot of people, spirituality is religion. So, it's basically a question of, what has religion got to do with business, and the rest of that. So I think there was a lot of sort of disconnection with the theme. And even if we brought up spirituality in a conversation, you'd see some people just switch off saying that, this is the business world. The things in black and white, you either perform or you perish, and the rest. And I think in a very interesting way, the last decade has evolved in such a significant manner, especially in the context of the complexities that we're constantly experiencing, that I don't think in 2026 many people would be surprised, Arun, that we're talking about anchoring leadership in spirituality, and especially to a group of business leaders. So, I want to talk about how we came upon an environment where maybe this theme is more appealing, and I'm hoping that those who are watching this live and those who are going to come into the to watch the recorded version find value and applicability in what it is that we're trying to discuss here today. So we're,
Sure.
needless to say, living in an age of extraordinary complexities. You have artificial intelligence that is rewriting the rules of work. You have geopolitical shifts and that are testing our resilience every day. Inside organizations, we're facing the epidemic of burnout, quiet quitting, and a crisis of meaning that no quarterly earnings can call out to solve. So, in times like this, the old playbook of leadership, command, control, charisma is just not enough. We've become fluent at driving performance, but we are often remaining not so literate at nurturing purpose. We've scaled businesses, but we've somehow ended up hollowing out our souls. So that's why anchoring this conversation on spirituality is important, because the idea is to drive home the point that this is not about the luxury that is reserved for retreats or for ashrams. It's a 21st century imperative. And let's try and be more clear about what we mean by spirituality when we're having this conversation here today. We don't mean dogma, we don't mean doctrine, we don't mean religion. What we mean is the inner scaffolding, the inner architecture of a leader, self awareness, interconnectedness, and the courage to stand up to be able to take on the unknown, and the moral clarity of being able to put humanity before business metrics. So we want to be able to figure how it is that we can combine so many polarities, and how can we actually, sort of manifest the opportunity of 21st of the 21st century imperative, what we're calling out as the 21st century imperative, which is anchoring our leadership in spirituality. So I have a chart up here which talks about the various industrial revolutions. And while it appears apparently that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, we're actually already unfolding industrial revolution 5. And as you can see in this chart, it's denoted by the heart. Yeah, it's denoted by the heart because it's alluding to the fact that we will not make it, we will not be able to manifest the opportunities of Industrial Revolution 5 unless we know how to figure this dance between humans and machines. That unless we learn how to be able to articulate and value purpose, and that unless we learn to be able to include human beings in very significant way, notwithstanding this absolute revolution on technology that we're experiencing and talking about every day, it will not manifest unless we learn the dance between humans and machines. And so I have a beautiful poem here. This is by Antonio Machado. And this is in response to the question that often gets asked, which is what we mean when we're talking about spirituality. What do people who are spiritual really do? And I've got a very beautiful sort of response, and I think this is only the start. We'll try and share some more as we go along, which is: Wanderer, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. Wanderer, there is no road, the road is made by walking. So I'm just going to repeat that. Wanderer, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. Wanderer, there is no road, the road is made by walking. And
Beautiful.
so, what you're actually doing every day is creating your own road, like we are, each one of us creating our own road. So I want to start at the start by being able to talk about the inner scaffolding of a leader that we spoke about earlier, and why self-awareness and inner stillness have become the ultimate leadership edge in the 21st century. In an era of constant noise, this self-awareness and the inner stillness is actually your differentiator. And so I want to, at this point, bring in Arun to be able to talk about, can we discuss contemplation, deep listening, silence, reflection that rewire a leader from being reactive to responsive? I mean, this seems to be an edge. Most people don't have it. They're actually struggling to be able to find this. And oftentimes, when you're not oriented towards your place in a larger universe, it's very difficult to connect with that quiet space. So I'm going to draw you in. I know you're a huge believer. You've been talking about contemplation and deep listening for a long time. So let me just invite you to this and why this is an edge in the 21st century.
Yeah, thank you, Sujaya, for that introduction. I'm reminded of, when we started our work, and this book was there, Managing from the Heart, written almost 25 years back. When we started our work and talked about these things, people said, you guys are trying to make snowballs in hell. Business and compassion, business and love and heart. What are you talking about? It's not there. But I'm very, very happy to see that the industrial revolution that you talked about, Sujaya, is well underway and by sheer compulsion. But I'd just like to step back for a moment and talk a little bit about what exactly is spirituality. So you're absolutely right. It's not dogma. It's not some beliefs or some religion or something like that. I think in simple terms, spirituality to me is about being one with life, seeing life as the larger context within which you have society, within which you have an organization, and then you have an individual. But sometimes we forget the larger context. We're part of life, and you can't do things that are not life affirming. So I think, like, for example, at Pragati Leadership, we say people, purpose, planet, and profit. All these four things must go hand in hand. You can't have just profit, 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 and then you forget the planet, you forget purpose, you forget people. We have so many examples of toxic organizations. That's not spiritual, that's not wholesome. So, spirituality is about leading in oneness with life, leading with purpose, having a crystal clear sense of wholeness and integration, not forgetting, the biosphere, not forgetting the atmosphere, not forgetting life, not forgetting the animals, but looking at everything in a whole way. So that's what it is, and I think it's definitely practical because with what's happening to the climate, the earth, it's not funny, and I think business is contributing a lot to the global warming. So I think leaders have to become conscious of the whole system. They have to zoom out to the larger vision of the earth, and they have to zoom in to a place of integrity, a place of peace, a place of silence, a place of deep compassion and understanding. So that is my understanding of. And as far as the inner operating system is concerned, I think it's really all about presence. It's all about listening to your heart. It's about pausing before decision making. It's about getting in touch with that deep space of silence and peace and awareness and compassion and emptiness, so that you're moving forward with clarity, courage, and compassion. I think that's the inner operating system of the leader. And it's not
Couldn't
as if
agree.
it's not as if it's got to be got from somewhere. It's there, but we don't pause enough to remember. We don't pause enough to connect.
So well said, because that space is not somewhere else, it's actually inside us. So it's about being able
Absolutely.
to tap into that insight to be able to find it. And I'm so glad you spoke about, which is so disturbing. It's so disturbing that so many people, especially on the social media, describe their workplaces as toxic and also their leaders as toxic. So I did try to venture out to speak to groups of people, understanding what do they mean by toxic, because it's a very sort of wide spectrum of
Yes,
experiences.
yes,
But if you
yes.
really boil it down, it appears that what you mean when you're saying toxic is that you mean you're in an unempathetic workplace. That you are in a place where your boss, who is the person you should trust the most, and you should be there largely inspired by what is the ecosystem this person's creating around you, is often the person who you don't trust. And so if that is what happens, is such a major breakdown of relationships, and such a major breakdown in terms of the organization finally losing meaningful talent as a result of these very unhappy experiences. And if you boil down unempathetic behavior, if anyone who's basically unempathetic is actually unconscious of what it is that they're doing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
not everyone may be doing things willfully, but I'm just saying it means you're unconscious about what you're doing and the impact you may be creating on people around you. Yeah, and this is simply it's a clarion call inviting you inwards. So when you're not aware of the impact, the negative impact you're having on people around you, and then you receive feedback or you see people leave, there's so many indicators that you're perhaps not manifesting the most positive environments. And I'm bringing the conversations back to the workplace because we have an audience that is largely interested in spirituality
Sure,
as
sure.
leadership, or leaders in the business environment. And so I'm inviting people who are in leadership positions to not see that as a position, but an invitation to move inwards. An
Yeah,
invitation to move inwards because you feel responsible for the others who are around you. And this silence that's inside you is going to help you become sort of calmer, to find that space of calm
definitely.
inside you, so that you're centered, so that you're making your decisions from a space of knowledge, because you have that inner space that's guiding you at all times. It is going to actually enable you to be able to manifest the most positive relationships around you, and most importantly, manifest continuously an inner voice that will guide you to do what's right. Right. And it's because in all that noise, okay, it's very difficult to be able to find your own inner voice. And for people to triumph, it's an edge, and it's a differentiator if you do find that voice, because those who find that voice behave differently despite the noise. So
Very
I want to be able to call out to how meditation is such a powerful habit to be able to create. And I know that there's a lot of conversations around meditation on the social media, but I think there's more talk than actual action. So I think in the context of the inner scaffolding and the inner architecture, there can't be anything more powerful than to be able to find 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes every day, to be in a quiet space, to be able to find a quiet space to where you can close your eyes and meditate, which is go and find the inner world, go find that inner voice, and it's waiting to speak to you. Yeah, there's beautiful meditation music available on the social media. I'm urging everyone, this is a game changer. I resisted meditation through my 20s, saying I have too many thoughts coming into my head, I'm unable to do this, that I have too noisy a mind to be able to just sit still for 15 minutes. And now I can go through 45 minutes, 60 minutes of meditation, and I don't know where that time went. And it's been a game changer on the kind of ability to be able to reclaim attention to begin with. It is such a great way to bring focus to your focus. You focus and give your energies to the things that really matter. So I'm going to invite you to be able to start this. It takes about 7 or 10 days for you to be able to calm down to listen to the inner voice. But this is a game changer for leaders in the 21st century. You must meditate. It's in the interest of yourself, your health, and most of all, and I mean your mental health. And I'm saying, and most of all, to find that inner voice which will always keep you centered, and all your power is coming from that inner voice. So meditation helps leaders reclaim attention and to see what really matters. It removes the noise, right? And you need this so badly. It is a differentiator because there is so much noise. It also helps you create the space between stimulus and response. And if you know how to create that space between stimulus and response, which means stimulus is what just happened, response is how you're responding to that, the more you're widening that space, which is in a way helping you build your EQ, because you become more aware about what you're feeling, you understand what somebody else is feeling, your ability to read your own emotions and the emotions of others is a game changer. And so I invite you to meditation to increase attention, focus, intuition, ability to make decisions with clarity, and most importantly, widen the space between stimulus and response. You'll see people, around you and who are well wishers ask you what happened, because I'm seeing you behave differently. I'm seeing you remain calm in the midst of chaos. I'm seeing you, choosing to respond rather than react. The biggest problem we can have in these times, and you can see there are plenty of examples in the geopolitical space, which is to become reactionary when things start going wrong. So when things going down a downward spiral, what you will need is a centered leader who knows how to listen to his or her inner voice. And so equanimity creates space between stimulus and response, and it's a game changer on being able to actually build your inner world. So, we're going to start this conversation by simply inviting leaders. And why just leaders? I mean, role model this to the other people. Everyone needs to find their centeredness. And when we're talking about inner architecture, this is largely what we're trying to tell you when we're saying build self awareness. And there needs to be a practice to enable you to do that. And meditation is what we're inviting you to. So you improve focus, improve quality of decision making. If you awaken your inner voice, it's very, very difficult to be discompassionate to others. It's very difficult to do it, and make that difficult for yourself. That you will not be, you will not be not just unkind, but you will feel guilty if you have not intervened to help. And I'm saying that's how we create environments of of compassion. That's how we create environments of equanimity. This is how you create sensible people who will keep other people centered, especially in the middle of chaos and noise. So it's a very strong strength. You can role model this and actually create a culture where more people emulate being calm under pressure. Yeah, this is very, very invaluable. Some people have, a natural orientation towards this, and many of us need to build it. So I know you're a big fan of meditation, Arun. Any final words around meditation?
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, I think nicely put. I just have a slightly different response to meditation. It's not something you build, it's not something you architect, it is not something you do. I'm reminded of a person, he was running, and
Hmm.
somebody said, "Where are you running? Where are you running?" He said, "I'm going on a crash course." They said, "Crash
Hmm.
course in what?" And he said, "Crash course in relaxation." So I think you saying is absolutely true, Sujaya, but I would just point to a few important nuances which are very important to remember. Meditation is not something you get from outside or you go to some guru or you hear some tape. It's really a returning home to who you really are.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like there's a beautiful in each one of us, even as we speak right now. There's a profound, infinite space of silence, peace, awareness, compassion, and emptiness. Five: silence, peace, compassion, awareness, compassion, emptiness in our deepest core, like the sky. We don't have to do anything. All that we have to do is sit in one place, watch our breathing, watch the inflow and outflow of our breathing, and then just ask who is watching this breathing? Who is watching the breathing? Just turn inwards, and suddenly you find that there's this vast sky that has always been present. It's never not there, it's eternally present. But what happens, Sujaya, is because we're busy
Hmm.
running,
Hmm.
trying, whatever, we miss the profound grace
Hmm.
that abides in each moment. So,
Hmm.
all I would say is two things. I would say, number one, pause. Several times a day, just pause. Just sit for 1 or 2 minutes. You don't have to do 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Just sit for 1 or 2 minutes. Ask yourself, who is watching my breathing? And
Hmm.
suddenly you remember, oh my God, wow, I'm so infinite, I'm so vast. And I'd like to offer all our lovely listeners two little metaphors to remember this. Number
Hmm.
one, the sky. When you look
Hmm.
at the sky, there's a traffic jam on the road outside. The sky is just watching.
Hmm.
Planes come, planes go, the sky is watching. Different colored birds come and go, the sky is watching. So, like that, the sky of awareness and peace inside you witnesses everything. That's one metaphor to remember. Whenever you want to pick me up and you say, "Oh, who am I?" Look up at the sky. It's not bothered about all the stock markets and the bombs and everything. Nothing. It's pure. And that's why in Sanskrit we call it the Chid Akasha, the
Hmm.
Akasha, the sky of consciousness. That's one metaphor. The second metaphor, which my favorite master Ramana Maharishi talks of, he says, see the world like a movie, and you remember that you're the screen of awareness. So if a bomb goes off in a movie, the screen doesn't get a hole in it, it doesn't burn. If there's a flood in the movie, the screen doesn't get wet. So, like that, friends, Sujaya, all of us have this
Hmm.
profound inner space of awareness that is untouched by the happenings of the world. Learn to abide in that, learn to remember that. And in the, for all leaders, we're busy, we're doing this, doing that, but take time to
Hmm.
pause. Take time
Hmm.
several times a day, just 1 or 2 minutes to pause and remember. And that is really the heart of how it you just remember, wow, I'm infinite, I'm deathless, I'm playing roles, but I'm not the role. I'm playing the role of a leader, a mother, a father, but I'm not the roles. I'm pure unbounded awareness, I'm infinite joy, infinite freedom and peace. And if you want a simple easy way to remember, SELF, I'm not the body, I'm not my role, I'm infinite silence, emptiness, love and freedom.
Lovely, super. I'm going to, with that, move forward to talk
Yes,
about the leadership energy that ripples. How do you
yes.
impact others around you as a leader?
Yeah.
A grounded leader sets the emotional tone for the team. And it's
Yeah.
not uncommon that if the leader has panicked, so have all the people around you. And the more senior you are, the ripple effect of this is extremely negative. And so, if the leader is not being able to demonstrate resilience or centeredness, it's
Yeah.
very difficult to find centeredness in the team. So, how do you anchor decisions in deeper values when the data, the market, or the board demands short term win lose thinking? Let's dive into the real world ethical dilemmas, let's say layoffs, AI deployment, sustainability trade offs, and how spiritual intelligence sharpens moral courage. I think this is the part that is important to focus on. So
Yeah.
why anchor in spirituality? Because it sharpens your moral courage. Yeah. And here I'm going to ask, can you recall a moment when your inner anchor cost you popularity but preserved integrity?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Going to repeat that. Can you recall a moment when your inner anchor cost you popularity but preserved integrity?
Yeah.
So I'm going to
So.
invite Arun to be able to talk about this a bit, which
Yeah. Yeah.
is speaking from soul when the metrics shout otherwise.
Yeah. 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 Sure. So I think the thing is, I remember when I was at IIM Ahmedabad, we had an accident there. One of the faculty rooms got burnt out because of some silly thing that happened. Some students put some burning wax box on the table, thinking that it'll just go off. But actually, the wax box made of wood burnt, the table burnt, the books burnt, and overnight the whole office was gutted of a professor at the IIM Ahmedabad. I was the Student Affairs Council leader at that time. So I was called by the board and by the director, and they said, "You guys are arsonists." I said, "No, sir, this is an accident. We are not arsonists, we're good human beings. This is an unfortunate accident that has happened. Tell us who are the doers of this thing." I said, "All of us are responsible. All of us are responsible, the people who put the box, the people who are with the box, and so on." And they said, "No, you tell us who is responsible." And I took a call. I said, "We are all responsible." Then they said, "You all have to pay for it." I said, "Okay, we have to pay." And that was a very unpopular decision. But my conscience was crystal clear. It said, "Look, we have total responsibility. We may not have been the person who put the box on the table, but all of us were part of it. We were all dancing. Everybody was there. I was sleeping actually. I sleep at 8. So I was sleeping. I didn't know what was happening, but I said, "Hey, I'm also responsible." So the net result, Sujaya, was that all of us, the entire student body, had to pay out of our pockets to repair the damage. And that was not a popular
Of
decision,
course.
but I think it was the right decision. I owe it to my inner guidance that I took that stand, and I'm very happy for it. I'm very happy for it. But it's
Right.
not always easy. It's not always
Yeah.
easy. The tide pulls you in the direction of popularity, looking good in the eyes of others. But I think for me, the metric is, what is the signal I'm receiving from inside? Is it one of joy and peace and clarity and okayness? If that signal is green, I don't care what the whole world is saying. The whole world can be throwing stones at me, but the point is, what is my heart saying? What is my inner compass saying? If there's joy and peace, and we have the Jeep test, it's in my book: joy, energy, enthusiasm, peace. If I'm feeling Jeep, if my Jeep meter is high, yes, go for it. Walk the talk and do what
Mm-hmm.
has to be done.
Hmm.
So that's how
And
I,
it's interesting you say this as an example because especially when you're talking about moral courage as a leader,
yeah,
because I think one of the reasons why people experience the kind of toxicity that they do at work is because oftentimes in their narratives they talk about how the leader pushes other people under the bus instead of even owning responsibility. Forget about moral courage to be able to stand for the entire team. You know what I mean? So I think
yeah,
we
yeah,
have very contrarian experiences that people call out. And I think part
yeah,
of the
yeah,
reason why
yeah.
don't enjoy the experience of work or do not enjoy the quality of
Very
leadership.
true.
So,
Very true.
yeah,
I
so,
think, Jay, it's really a contraction of your view.
Hmm.
It's a contraction in terms of the boundaries of who I am. It's a contraction, so I forget about the other people, I forget society, I forget life, and it is also temporal contraction. I
Hmm.
just think of the short term. Okay, my figures in the next 3 months.
Hmm.
Hello, hang on, stop. The North American Indians, Native
Yes.
American Indians, would think 7 generations ahead and said, this decision that I'm taking today, how will it affect my children in the seventh generation from now?
Hmm.
And Sujaya, they in the Native American Indian language, there is no word for ownership. So
Hmm.
when people came from Europe and said, who owns this land? They said, what are you talking about? What do you mean ownership? This is land, this is mother. We steward it, we look after it. So I think we have to make a few shifts. I think leaders have to make shifts from transactions to relationships,
Yes.
from very short term success in inverted commas to wholeness and
Hmm.
longevity over a
Hmm.
long time, and from fragmentation to wholeness and belongingness. So
Hmm.
I think these kind of inner shifts create
Hmm.
a culture that is nourishing,
Hmm.
that is a culture that helps people to thrive.
Hmm.
Because, see, today, if you look at the world, there are three kinds of connections we've lost. We lost a connection with our deepest inner core, deepest space of joy and peace and abundance. We have lost connection with other people because we're all the time on the phone, phone, phone,
Hmm.
phone, phone, phone. And the third connection we've lost is our connection with nature. I remember
Yeah.
as a child in Kashmir, I was playing in the mud and we'd make things with our hands and run up Shankaracharya Hill and play in the forest. And today, children do not have that kind of luxury of playing
Yeah.
with nature. So I think when we restore these connections, bring
Yeah.
in the safety, the empathy you talked about, we
Yeah.
will find cultures that flourish.
Right. I think I must add here very quickly a personal story. I'll try and make it as brief as I can. And it goes back many years ago. Going to allude to the point we had made at the it's not uncommon in the current environment to be able to experience this or to expect to experience the leader at some time or the other. We got to bite the bullet and make some tough calls. So, I'm going to relate to story which is from my personal career and my personal experiences where we, as part of an advertising agency, and this is a couple of years ago, we acquired another agency. And when we acquired this new agency, what came with it is that this agency is overstaffed. This is not going to be meaningful unless we reduce the numbers. We don't require so many people, and so this was a problem that got handed down, and we had to be able to basically look at almost, I think, 350 people leaving. Now, this is a relatively smaller number as compared to the numbers that we're looking at, but I think it's the moot point on moral courage that we're actually talking about. So we tried re-looking at. I mean, that's the number that came in from the due diligence done at the time of being able to acquire the entity, and I think the number was a little higher, but anyway, it came down to about 350. That we'd have to minimum reduce 350 heads if we wanted to make this meaningful. And I think as taking that over as the head of HR, the opportunity here was to be able to dive deeper, understand what we could do with these 350 people. These were 350 livelihoods, and I'm really delighted that we managed to be able to look at being able to reduce that number to around somewhere close to like a 180 or something, closer to 200. We managed to save, the first wave was to save some headcount by being able to meaningfully deploy them, including because we were a larger entity, there were opportunities to move them to some of the other entities as well, but save these jobs.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be left with the 180 that we still would need to sort of manage. And I think in the ordinary course, what we were expected to do was to hand out their checks and make sure that they basically clean out in a short period of time. And instead, having the courage to be able to go back to the board and reopen it. And, it was people wanted mostly organizations just want the problems wiped out, like, finish with the problem. You actually gain sort of popularity and respect and attention if you solved the problem in the way in which you're expected to solve the problem. And I often wonder whether we do enough work in terms of first principles thinking to be able to see what is the mood challenge really here and what can we do to be able to resolve it. It doesn't need to be it needs to be resolved. It may not need to be resolved in the way in which the board or somebody else is asking it to be able to do it. And so we really got down to reopening this, which was not sort of was not reacted to very well, but nevertheless pushed that and be able came back to be able to further redeploy about another 20-30 from that. We literally bit into the 180 and brought it down to about like a 130, 125, 130. And then now we've stuck with this 120, 125. And then what we did was literally put our heads together, four or five of us. We spent almost a week finding them other jobs, right?
Very
So
nice.
basically, we got them to be able to get down, there were tears, there was all kinds of insecurity. And this is many years ago, where it was not so easy to find the other job. And I think got down, and I'm really, really delighted. Got back home 10:30 in the night, was welcomed by my entire family. It was my birthday. And I'm delighted that instead of, I celebrated it in the way in which I would have liked to celebrate it, which is by finding other people jobs and making sure that they could put meals on the table, that they had not lost their livelihood. So I returned back to Mumbai only having placed the last person. So there was
Very
absolutely
nice.
no one unemployed at the end of the entire experience. So,
Yeah,
and when
yeah,
you
yeah.
come back, you have the ability to go back to business as usual, in the sense that it's all in a day's job, that something
Absolutely.
like that got done. And I think that when you have an intention as a leader, and you know that you're sort of working for something which is higher than yourself, you
Very
will
good.
find a whole host of people who will rally
Ab-
around you. You will
I
just find support and help from places you never expected. And I
yes,
think
yes.
we redeployed these people, we found them jobs, and we moved them to multiple other industries other than advertising. And I'm so excited that we managed to place the last person.
Excellent.
Last person on that list.
This is
So,
a beautiful example, Sujaya, of compassion and creativity.
hmm,
And this kind of thing arises when you're deeply rooted in a thing beyond your ego, beyond the mind. And I just want to share, since a lot of leaders are listening, I mean, a lot of layoffs are happening today, large companies and so on. I was just talking this morning to somebody in the US, and if we just do a few simple things, enable these people to find their life purpose, get them to see if they can do things together, give them examples of people who collaborated and done things together, connect them, as you said, make the right connections. It's not a big problem to solve at all, not at all. But the fear has to be removed, and they have to be given the confidence that, look, find your life purpose, follow your heart, make connections to people within. So for, if 20,000 people are laid off, well, let's talk, let's use open space technology to talk to each other, let's talk to our networks and see what can be done. And before you know what's happening, very innovative solutions, innovative micro businesses can spring forth, and what was a disaster is actually spawning off a lot of things. See, when a whale dies, thousands of processes happening. It's called a whale fall. So the
hmm,
when 100 tons of whale falls and dies, a huge ecosystem of thriving happens on the whale, and some people eat, and something happens, and coral reefs form. So no problem. That
hmm,
20,000 people getting lopped off from an organization is like a whale fall.
hmm.
It can fade into thriving, but you
Yeah.
have to have faith, that deep knowing that life will thrive. It is possible with creativity, compassion, and commitment. It will be done.
Right. And so well said. So the point I was trying to make, and this is not about our stories of greatness, really. We can only draw from our own experiences when we're trying to explain what moral courage may really look like. I'm sure there are lots of listeners and lots of people who are on this call today,
Sure.
with their personal capacity, done similar, even greater sort of
Yes.
things to create impact. The idea is that in moral courage, it's very important to believe that you're not alone, that there are lots of people placed here in this world to be able to help you. And you got to
Absolutely.
be able to just channelize your energies to be able to find them. They're
Absolutely.
all there. Everyone's
They're all
waiting to,
there.
I think it's
Absolutely.
an absolutely massive belief to have, which is
Yeah.
everyone here is here to help me, and that I'm here to help them, and that if they are going to, I'm going to find the people who will help me. And
Very
I must say that every time we found this, we found millions of people around who were ready to be able to help. and solve the problem. We've all been placed here to solve the problem. There are lots of resources out there, and we should always believe it. But I think we come from a space of scarcity. It's very difficult to demonstrate moral courage.
Very true, very true.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you also you don't I mean, I keep saying in my teaching and my works, I said you can either be deficiency driven or abundance inspired. And
Hmm.
if you have opened up your heart, if you opened up your vision to life, you see so much abundance. You see
Hmm.
miracles abounding. Just to give you an example, the entire energy requirement of the human race is 22 terawatts of power. That's all. We need 22 terawatts of power. And the sun is radiating 6,000 terawatts of power on the earth, even after, things bouncing out of space. 6,000 terawatts of power are coming to the earth. And
Yes.
humans need only 22. So it's not a problem of abundance. It's a design problem. It's a problem of mind. And
Yeah.
you're right. And if we get stuck in scarcity and fear, I mean, there's no end to problems. But if you switch to abundance and love and compassion, life is so beautiful.
It is indeed. I think with that, I want to be able to call out. I said that I will intermittently call out lines from poems, which are very
Yeah, yeah,
inspiring
yeah.
to me. Yeah, my life is like a book of candles. Each page reads in the light of its own burning. My
Mm.
life is like a book of candles. Each page reads in the light of its own burning. Yeah, want you
It's
all to be
on
able to
burning.
think a bit about that, right? And then of course, from
Yeah,
burnout to belonging, how do we cultivate a living culture? And in this segment, we want to talk a bit about spirituality, which is spiritually anchored leadership, which doesn't change the leader, it changes the culture. And here we want to talk a bit about how do we design workplaces where people feel safe, feel seen, feel soulfully engaged, moving beyond wellness perks to genuine relational connections, meaning making, and feel psychologically safe. And I know we use psychological safety a lot. I think it's spoken about. Most people don't know how to create it, and they don't know what the absence of it looks like. So I think a lot of us aren't doing enough to be able to actually manifest this. What's the difference between a performing culture and a thriving one, and what does it take to be able to build one? So, our conversation on leadership anchored in spirituality, must finally manifest in a culture which is where people feel that they belong, a culture where people feel included, where they feel respected, where people, and, what's the difference between a performing culture, which really, where people are pretending, you know what I mean, rather than the essence of what it is that you're actually talking about, a really, truly thriving workplace. And I'm saying that it's not some esoteric thing, it's something that you can absolutely achieve. It requires a few things to be centered and in place, but I want to get
sure.
your input on, because the most common thing now, including in the latest study, that the Gallup study that was released recently, is the conversations just around burnout, the amount of burnout people experience. And normally burnout is an outcome of overemphasis on performance versus relationships. So want to pause here to get you in terms of how does this
Sure.
burnout, how do we change this to belongingness?
So I think burnout is not a problem of workload. It's a problem of meaning and connection. I repeat, burnout is a meaning and connection deficit. There's nothing wrong with performance. I mean, sure. I mean, if there's performance with joy, performance with a sense of psychological safety and fun and energy, I mean, there's nothing wrong with performance. But getting stuck only with performance, only with profits, at the exclusion of purpose, planet, and people, that's where the problem is. And I think, as I said earlier, the thing happens when we lose connection, when people become very, very transactional, focusing only on work, and nothing about relationship, nothing about talking or having a conversation about how are you doing, or where's your career going, or how are you feeling. So that is one disconnect. The other is compliance versus commitment. Rather than fostering a space in which commitment happens naturally, there's this whole thing about compliance, follow this process, follow this norm, follow this standard, without first exploring how can there be commitment. And also fragmentation. I think one thing, Sujaya, we hear so often in our work is silos. silo. Everybody
Mm,
is in a silo. Everybody's in a
mm,
silo. Germany is in a silo. India is in a silo. Within India, there are silos. So the point is, how can we get people to think wholeness? How can we get them to think the whole system? So I think the key design elements are, for example, psychological safety. Can we create psychological safety? Deep listening rituals, listening circles, listening to each other, creating spaces where people can freely choose what they want to discuss and self organize around them. And then also leaders who embody trust, who live out, walk their talk, who are compassionate, who are kind. I'm not saying sin, play down the performance part. No. It's like many people think performance goes up, relationship goes down. Relationship goes up, performance goes down. So they have a seesaw sense in their mind, performance and relationship. I'm a good human being. Okay, forget about performance. Performance, I've got to be a bad human being. So we say, hang on, get off the seesaw and get onto a lift where performance, compassion, trust, listening all rise. And we have seen over and over again that if you take care of the human side, you take care of connection, you take up psychological safety, you're honest and sincere in your speaking, you build good relational connections, performance rises, innovation rises. And I must tell you a very quick story. We were working with a company on innovation, and the whole company was involved. And HR comes to us and says, "Sir, the retention levels have increased, but we are working on innovation. How are the retention levels increasing?" We said, because people are sitting together, they're solving problems, they're listening, they're connecting, and the engagement is going up, innovation is going up, both are going up. So
yeah,
we've
yeah.
found
So
breakthroughs.
couldn't agree more. I mean, I attribute burnout like you to the lack of relational connection.
Absolutely correct.
Your a leader is someone's hand you would take to go to a place you've never been to before. And
Yes, yes,
so, I mean, we remember a lot of our, uh, what you may describe as burnout at this point, as high point experiences in our careers, which is when we did the best. It's when we
mm,
worked really hard towards something. And I'm saying, I'm sure a lot of people,
yeah,
have experienced this through their careers, which is they did not describe a time of intense activity where you worked really, really hard towards something. You did not call out that experience as a burnout experience. You were knackered, you were tired, you were, you were you've had sleepless nights. You're all stressed because you want to be able to make sure this really succeeds. And what you end up with feeling is, heightened level of achievement and heightened level of, actualization. And
yeah,
that you're actually, it becomes a career high. It's something that you remember through your career, is a high point learning experience and a high point career experience. In fact, at the research is done at the end of careers, where people who are retirees are asked what do they recall about their careers, and they all recall intense human interactions, or
yeah,
times of
yeah,
intense human experiences where they've actually experienced, the outcome, the positive outcome of relationship building within the
sure,
organization,
sure,
which
sure, sure.
did
Absolutely.
something outstanding on the work
Yeah,
front.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's a matter of intrigue to imagine so many people feel burnt out. They feel burnt out because they don't feel connected. They feel
absolutely.
burnt out because they don't see authenticity. They feel
Very
burnt out because their leaders aren't truly connecting with them. Most people will do what is required to be done and more if they feel this relational connection.
abs,
And I'm afraid that leaders need to go first, on
yeah,
this one. Yeah, I
abs,
think,
and
leaders must go first.
yeah, I'm reminded of a study. About 500,000 people from all over the world were asked, "What do you really value?" Across cultures, across ages, across geographies, everywhere. And in this value graphic study, what came up on the top two or three was relationships, family, well being, and of course, financial security. But relationships was number two, family was number one. So
Mm.
people value that. And I think uh, managers who understand this and consciously build that trust through better listening, more authentic sharing, also impact culture.
Of course.
Because high trust cultures outperform low trust cultures by 287%, 2.8 times higher
Mm,
performance. So
mm.
it's not an either or, it
It
is
is, yeah.
both.
Yeah, yeah. So true. Absolutely agree. We're running short of time because these are such interesting and topics, and they take you to so many places. But I'm going to try and make sure that we don't miss anything. So this is a beautiful poem, which is written by the Persian poet Hafiz. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky.
Beautiful, beautiful. How nice. Lovely. Very
Even after
nice.
all this is on the relational connections that we're talking about. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what
Very true.
happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky.
Absolutely. Unconditional giving. I mean, without including to yourself. I think that's it. Yes.
Yeah, so I want to be able to bring this in, even if we keep it briefly. Reframe faith not as a belief, but as a capacity to step into the unknown with quiet confidence. There's confidence that goes beyond planning. Explore how trusting emergence, holding ambiguity, and letting go of control unleashes innovation, resilience, and renewal in teams. How do you
Good.
teach or model faith in the process to a cynical, data-dependent organization?
So I think I'd just like to share with one of my mentors told me when I was a young lad in Jamshedpur. He told me, he said, Arun, whatever happens, say that life is giving me this experience to strengthen me. And from that day onwards, I have learned to trust life. And I think my faith in the awesome intelligence that has run life beautifully for 3 billion years on the planet is humongous. I mean, humans have been here just for about short period of time. But the awesome intelligence that manages my gut, that makes the brain work, and that little turn coming from Alaska all the way to New Zealand without GPS, I think that intelligence, if I remember, I owe every breath of mine to that intelligence. It gives me faith. So for me, faith is the capacity to be anchored in that intelligence through my heart, through my inner space, and find clarity, hope, and courage amidst uncertainty, amidst violence, amidst the darkness. So, no matter how dark things are, I find that I am the source of light in my heart. It will guide me, it will teach me, it will give me comfort, and that's what I cling to. And for me, that is the strategic pillar. And
Right.
it, whenever there's ambiguity, I don't have to rush to closure. And the other thing, Sujaya, which I've for about 30, 40 years been working with, is open space technology. And we
Mm.
find that people, a group of 300, 400 people, can self organize beautifully in miraculous ways. Uh, that I said, my God, how does this happen? It is amazing how people self-organize using open space technology with
Mm.
openness, heart, and miracles happen. Beautiful
Mm.
things come about, and I
Right.
think this strengthens my faith. And
Right.
as you said beautifully, from somewhere or the other, the right people come, the right information comes. I have
That's
experienced
right.
this over and over again.
Right. So, I'm going to reframe this to say that faith in the process is the input for being able to get the data that you want. Right. So
Yeah,
faith in
yeah,
the process, yeah, you stay with it. You stay with it. You may not see it emerging immediately, but you stay with it. And I
yeah,
think this trusting emergence, holding ambiguity, and letting go of control, there is no other way to deal with the kind of complexities that we're dealing with right now. You know what
absolutely,
I mean? By
absolutely.
overreacting, getting upset, getting angry,
It's
saying
not
things
going
you didn't mean to say, losing talent. I mean, there's one of our clients which was trying to basically, and this is an international client where they reached out to us saying that we need help because the group of leaders who were working with the Gen Z and much younger people in the team on a
to.
deadline set by the board that wants to see AI use case in procurement, right? And so they needed to be able to demonstrate that. And while they were trying to, so it's with good intention, right? They see that as the space where they do believe this can be integrated. All good intention to want to use AI in a meaningful manner become the use case for the organization. There's a lot of board FOMO around AI, so there's a lot of pressure to be able to make sure that this does get integrated, used, demonstrated in some significant manner. So all good intention for why the team was coming together to be able to do it, but in the way in which we have dealt with the ambiguity, with the challenges, with the pressure of time, with relationships and undermining relationships while we're trying to do something important. And in the bargain, they've come back saying everyone on the project has resigned. And
Oh my
so, yeah, so they've just had fights galore. There's been conflict, and so instead of doing something big, you've lost your talent, you've lost your relationships, you've kind
God.
of depleted the each other's souls in different ways because of the way you
Yeah,
behaved. And
yeah, yeah,
instead of being able to use that as an opportunity for a high point experience, you've instead depleted this into allowing all the
yeah.
relationships to break down around you. So trusting
That's
emergence,
the
I want to call out that trusting emergence, you don't have a choice on this one. Holding ambiguity, you have no choice on this one. In your
yeah.
ability of letting go of control while you're trying to make innovation happen, you're trying to basically enable people to experiment and do things
Very
differently.
deep,
Yeah,
very
and
deep.
so faith in the process ought to be your input to be able to finally get it what it is that you really want. And
Absolutely.
the
I just,
inability to have faith in the process is what actually kills innovation, kills creative thinking, kills people's ability to be able to contribute. And
yeah, and
so,
to add one tiny thing, which is that this is hugely productive from the viewpoint of business because high trust gets you higher performance, it improves your retention, it improves your quality, it improves innovation, and this has direct financial impact. So
does.
people will understand that if you water the roots, you'll get
Yeah.
the fruit.
Yes, absolutely. So I think there's a beautiful poem called "The Guest House."
Yes,
This being human is a guest house. Yeah, every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, yeah, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes to us as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows, yeah, who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new daylight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing and inviting them in. The Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
beautiful, beautiful. I love Rumi. In fact, he's also said you don't have to get love from anywhere. You just got to remove the covers that overshadow it. And I would just like to close my part, unless there's something else, that, spirituality and leadership is not about getting something or new models, new theories. It's about removing the noise
Hmm.
that prevents clarity, compassion, courage from expressing naturally. It's like removing the clouds from the sun and allowing that sun to flow freely as an
Yeah,
expression of alignment with life. So that I
so true.
think it's really that, really just that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a last quick one, just so that the viewers don't are not deprived of this thought, which is what is the ROI of the soul? Yeah, measuring what matters. Does anchoring leadership and spirituality translate into tangible outcome? um,
Yes.
Discuss the connection to retention, discretionary effort, creativity, long term value creation, and how to make the case without reducing soul to a metric. What's the most surprising business result you've seen flow from a spiritually grounded leadership shift? So, this is
I
an invitation to everybody who's on the call today to be able to start making this shift and watch out for yourself on what business result do you manifest as a result of keeping your leadership anchored in spirituality. And we can take a quick thought from you on this, Arun.
I've seen remarkable changes, monetary savings of crores of rupees come when teams started working together with joy, with listening, with creativity
Harmony.
and harmony. I've seen tangible business results come over and over again over the 40 years of Pragati leadership. we've seen this again and again and again.
I'm going to just leave everyone with an idea, to watch Martin Seligman. But because we're short of time today, I'm just going to summarize what we wanted you to listen to in this last 4-minute clip, which is, what is the real purpose of human endeavor? What is the real purpose of why it is that we go to work, why it is that we work together, we're interested in improving the organization's results and profits, and all of that has no end, but we're constantly working at being able to become better, we create bigger organizations, better, more successful organizations, as indeed we must. But what truly ought to be the outcome of this human endeavor? And I think that Martin Seligman, who's really the father of positive psychology, says it so beautifully when he's basically saying that the outcome, the real measure of all human endeavor, is human well being. If you do not have people who are feeling happy, if you do not have more people who are feeling centered, if you do not have more people who feel purposeful, who feel that they've made a contribution, you don't have more people, who feel well more than anything else, who feel well, right? We
Very
don't have more people feeling like that, right? We don't have more people thriving. We have failed as humanity. And so, it's a very powerful thought on what is the real measure, since we're talking about ROI, what is the real measure of human endeavor? The real measure of human endeavor is if we are finally not feeling so good about our lives, if burnout is our primary reaction to what it is that we're doing when we're trying to create a meaningful endeavor of going and earning a livelihood, and what we're experiencing is burnout, unhappiness, disenchantment, feel compelled to have to do something because we need to put food on the table, then this is not the reason why everyone wakes up in the morning to be able to come together. And I know it sounds like a profound thought, but if every leader thought that the outcome of all the endeavor that we're making is that we want to see thrive, human beings thrive around us, and if we're not seeing people thrive, then we failed in the endeavor that we're making every day. So just over to you, Arun, for some final thoughts on this.
No, I think you said it beautifully. I would just simply say that maybe all uh, remember the magnificence and awesomeness that we are, each one of us a unique wave on the ocean of life. Maybe remember the ocean of life, and with this inner understanding and outer work, maybe thrive ourselves and enable others to thrive. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Arun. Such a
Sujaya, for
lovely
having me.
conversation. I really
Thank,
enjoyed this.
thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. And
Thank
we're
you.
looking forward to having you on another Talking Points. Meanwhile, everyone who logged in, I hope you found this meaningful. I hope it's triggered off a few thoughts for you. And I hope that many of you reconsider, your leadership styles. Maybe you want to imbibe some of the things that we said today. And if nothing else, even if some of you started meditating, we still think we've done a great job of being able to inspire you here today. So, with
Yeah.
that, join in on another talking point. Watch the space for more as we let you know about more conversations, and we will try and bring in. I said this to Arun right at the start. It'd be so lovely to bring you back into another talking points, another point in time. This conversation remains to be continued. And thank you, Arun, for giving
Thanks
us
a
the
lot.
time. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
for logging in today. We've got some of the comments here. Having taught for many years that we only manage what we measure, I also realize that the two most important things that drive us but cannot be measured are love and fear. So at some stage, we have to jettison the concept of ROI in favor of ROIA, which is return on inner alignment. Very
Very,
beautifully said. Yeah, we should get
very
you in
nice.
on one of our talking points the next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it has inspired you, even in a small way, to be able to make some small change to the way in which you lead and manage people. So thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you, everyone
Thanks.
who has some comments. And thank you
Thank,
one more
thank
time, Arun, for your
you.
time today. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Sure.
Bye. Bye.
Take care,
Thanks.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.